Yeah, have you been? Because this past weekend I had like a long weekend because there's like a Veterans Day weekend, and my work recognizes it as a holiday. So I took
Good for them.
Thursday off, and then we had Friday off. So I had like a nice long weekend to do nothing but watch movies.
Same here, somewhat. I took the week off prior to that, the whole week. We just eating up PTO days at the old job, and I
Right.
did a lot of the same stuff. We touched base a couple times to just kind of say, "Hey, I'm watching this movie. You watch it too, goddamn it!" And then that's how we do our thing.
You virtually twisted my arm behind my back and pushed my head into the television. Go on, Shutter right now.
Right now, and
Hurt
we
me in the soul.
ended up like usurping the whole name and premise of the channel by watching some pretty good horror movies this past week.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we haven't been suffering enough. That's for sure.
I feel lacking in the suffrage. I do.
Yeah, I feel like we're coming across as like a fake channel now with suffering needs to be taken out of the title, but that's not really what we want to do because I do enjoy seeing a great horror movie, and we've just been on a kind of a roll with them lately. We haven't been particularly watching them on the channel because we're supposed to be suffering on this channel.
Yes, that's right. We're we got to stay on brand, and it's too late to change the brands by this point. We're
Right.
too invested.
I feel we have to make penance, and I feel we will be making penance very soon with some
Yeah,
upcoming things that we have going on. Um,
indeed.
but I guess we can talk about what we've watched. So I'll start off first.
Sure.
You recommended which one should I go with first? You recommended Talk to Me, and
Okay.
yeah, and then I was like, Talk to Me has always been on my list of movies to watch. Anyways, when I saw the previews for it in the theater, I could say I wasn't too interested in it because I didn't know what the concept of the movie was pretty much from the trailers of it. So it didn't really interest me that much. I thought it was just going to be one of those kind of teeny bopper slasher flicks. Not to
Same
put
here.
those down because I do love my slasher flicks, and not really slash flick, kind of like the spirit, haunting slasher kind of thing. Anyways, so I just kind of put it on the side burner until you told me like, hey, check it out. It's really good, and I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. It was one of those movies that the more I thought about it, the more I realized like, damn, I liked a lot of it, and I think it has to do with just the pacing of it. The cast was great. I didn't do any real super in depth research, but I did a little bit before we started tonight, and it was this is their first feature, which is even more impressive. It's two directors, twins, both young men, both Australian guys that had a YouTube channel that kept getting shut down because they were doing backyard wrestling stuff. And just, I saw a brief montage of their stuff, and God knows how they got out of life with all their limbs because it's just, it looked like jackass to the extreme, the kind of thing that only young, crazy guys do. But they pulled it off, man. It was a phenomenal first film.
Right. Yeah, and I think I went on not to give away any spoilers that the premise of the plot was that there is this hand, and it's like a ceramic hand or it's a plaster hand. You don't really know what it is, but it's got all this graffiti on it. Pretty much I would say the graffiti is not really graffiti. Maybe it's just signatures of people who have done the trick and they just signed off, and the premise of it is the person takes a hold of the hand and then they recite these words, talk to me. And then when they say the words talk to me, they see something flash up before them and it scares the shit out of them. And then they have to say the words, let me in, or I let you in, or I invite you in, something like that.
I let you in, I believe.
Yeah. And then the person who's holding on to the ceramic can is possessed by the dead. And it just kind of takes off this weird premise of utilizing the aspect of mediums and seances and turning them into a real supernatural game, that party game.
Yeah.
And that is, turns out, people don't believe it. They just see all these videos of these people supposedly possessed by this hand or the different ghosts that occupy the area. And yeah, so it's a crazy concept, and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, I did too. And there's so many things I liked about it. Like kind of the one of the things that struck me first of all, is that it's like it's young director, young cast, and it felt genuine in that way. It felt like it was really that all the actors were speaking in the way that young people would. Like
Yeah.
it felt very authentic in that
Yeah.
way. Like they were,
Genuine. Yeah.
yeah, like they were cruel in the way that only teenagers can be cruel to one another. And another thing that I really liked about it was that there was no pretense of like, is this really some mystical thing? I don't know. Maybe, you know how like a lot of horror movies are tedious in that way, where
Yeah.
there's always the doubting Thomas character. They had none of that. It was like all of the teenagers that are experimenting with this thing know that it's the genuine article, that it can really possess people, and it's a real conduit to the other side, and that it
Yeah.
can allow people a pathway in, these malevolent spirits. And they just, but they're, it's got that thing about youthful just kind of hubris, is that they think, oh, what's going to happen? I'm going to hit
Right.
this like crack pipe. What's the worst that could happen? That's kind of the feeling that it gave.
Yeah, it was a Pandora's box, and I think at the beginning there was some skepticism from some of the teenagers who hadn't done it. That they're like, I don't believe it. Let's go there and do it. And our heroine, I won't say heroine, our protagonist of the story, she's going through some issues, and with friends and family, and they kind of established this little mini plot about her background, and how she experiences her first encounter with his hand, and it's truly frightening. And they set up the rules for it too. There's rules for this world. I have a rant I want to go off to on a little bit after this, about
Sure.
rules, horror rules. The but there are rules, that you can't go longer than 90 seconds. 90 seconds is the max time you can be connected to the other world, and they don't really go into detail about what happens after that, only that some kind of connection is permanently made if it's after 90 seconds. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Someone goes over 90 seconds and pretty much all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, don't get it wet. Don't let it eat after midnight.
Right.
As soon as they establish anything, it's kind of like with in one of the other movies we'll talk about. It's like, what's this nail gun about? It's like, what the nail gun's about. The nail gun is yes, you've established the nail gun.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's foreshadowing.
Yeah, and this turned out to be another A24 film, if I
It
believe,
was.
right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
So, another great standout A24 film. What can I say?
They make some great horror, and a lot of the movies that I've watched from them, that even if it wasn't like a phenomenal movie, there's something about it that's at least kind of like, okay, that was artistically ambitious in some kind of way.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it doesn't make a bit of damn sense, or it's out there.
or
But
if it's somewhat up its own butt.
yeah, yeah. Like we were talking about, I think on the last one, where they're a little highfalutin, where they're trying to put the stream of consciousness on you, and not just throwing
Yeah.
blood and guts into your face.
Right, right. Yeah, we did touch on that the other day about how some horror fans are a little bit kind of annoyed by the pretentious artistry of a lot of movies.
Yeah. So yeah, A24, or I mean A24, Let Me In. God, it's Talk to Me.
Talk to me.
I
I do the same thing
Yeah.
because, yeah.
But Talk to Me is not. It does not have. You're going to be pleasantly surprised with the amount of violence and gore in the film. It's not all over the place, but when it's there, it's powerful, it's brutal, and you're just being like, "Holy shit!"
Well, and it's kind of that age old thing. It's like it has an impact when you care about the characters. I think that a lot of the movies that I've forgotten about have had a lot more visceral things happen to the characters, but you're kind of like, your connection to them is what moves you, I think.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and these characters are all very relatable. I guess even to us Gen Xers, that can still relate to them a little bit. Every generation is rebellious in their own way,
Well,
and
I think I could relate to the peer pressure part of it, because if we had something like that, we would have been like that. Maybe not us specifically, but people in our peer group. We know
yeah,
some folks like that. Like, just do it, you puss. Just just open the Necronomicon and read the thing.
Sure. But yeah, and a great ending too. It kind of wrapped everything up, and I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a nice tidy bow, but it did wrap everything up really good. So
Yeah, just really, really great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Philippi brothers do after this. Sorry, I messed up
yeah,
your name.
no, yeah, that would be great. I'm kind of hoping they don't do a sequel, but who knows with the success
Yeah,
of it.
that's always tedious because it's horror sequels are just kind of fundamentally worse films. It's just
Yeah,
the curse of most sequels.
but if it does really well, there's always going to be someone who's going to be looking at a sequel for it. But I guess if it's done well, there's nothing I can complain too much about. But
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't turn into Cabin Fever 2 and 3.
oh, so I was about to go off on horror rules,
Yeah,
and
please do.
so my wife and I went to go see Terrifier 2 in the theaters. Or in the
Okay,
theater. It was kind of like re-released in the theater just this past week. It's kind of like a preamble to Terrifier 3, which is coming out, I guess, in December. And
right.
I've Terrifier 1 was just a gross out gore fest, which didn't have a plot or a story. And 2 was pretty much the same way, except it was 40 minutes longer. And so I was telling my wife, we are both complaining because even in the theater there were certain scenes that stood out where she was just like, what? Ah, fuck off, and I was like, wow,
Yeah,
she's never done that ever. And because she loves cheesy horror films and things like that, but things that were going on in the film were just bonkers, badass, crazy, that didn't have anything to do with anything. The plot made no sense, and I'm not even worried about that. I'm like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? It doesn't matter. It's a Terrifier film. The only thing
right.
that matters to me is Art the Clown. There are no rules for this monster as yet. It seems like he can do anything and everything and show up in one place, murder, kill, be shot, be cut in half, head cut off, but his head be birthed out somebody else's orifice. And it there's no rules laid down for why he is there. What is he doing? Even Jason Voorhees has a motive. Freddy Krueger has a motive. Even Michael Myers has a motive, and they all have their weaknesses. They're very powerful creatures. They can do all this stuff, but they always have a certain weakness. Terrifier Art the Clown doesn't seem to have any kind of weakness, and anytime a weakness is found, it seems like he just stands right up and regenerates. And so they're saying like he's a demon, but even demons have rules and structure
Yeah,
about them.
and that's kind of one of the age-old rules. Like Superman has to have kryptonite, otherwise, what's the point?
He's a
Like,
god.
yeah. Like, I know these are superhero references that come to mind immediately, but this is basically superhero rules that you're talking about. Like
Yeah,
Adam Eve on Invincible, like she can manipulate things on an atomic level. They
right.
put a governor on her that that can't be applied to flesh. She can't do that to anything living, and you have to have those rules, or else what's the point? She could just
Yeah,
like create a friggin' Godzilla, and then it's under her control or whatever
yeah.
she wants to do.
No, and that's the point. That why to create unstoppable creatures like Art. It's the movie is, and I don't even know. I doubt the director even had a point to Art other than the sheer nihilism of it. Maybe where you could try to stop him as much as you want, and it's not going to work. But I was so frustrated that I was like, well, what are his rules? I don't know his rules. We don't,
Yeah.
none of that's been, there's been a short, at least 2 shorts with him in it. There's been a full length with Terrifier. There's been another full length Terrifier 2, and his world has not ever been established. The restrictions, he has no restrictions. And that's why I think he's just kind of like I think he's a, not a, I think he's a very poorly executed monster.
Yeah, it's bad writing.
Yeah, extremely bad writing. I think the concept is cool, but I remember just being extremely aggravated. And like I said, the first one I didn't care because I knew what I was getting myself into. It was just a straight up horror flick, monster. Like they tried to put a little bit more into this one, and believe me, two hours and 10 minutes of Art the fucking Clown is way too much. I'm telling you, man. We
Oh, I bet it was. Well, and like my memory of Terrifier 1, I haven't seen 2, but my memory of Terrifier 1 was just a montage of kill scenes.
yeah,
That's kind of all that sticks out in my head. I remember the one that sticks with everybody is where he saws the lady in half,
yeah,
from the bottom to the top,
sure,
which,
yeah,
great kill scene. But if like, can you relate to any of his victims at all? Are they well
no,
acted? Nothing. Yeah.
no,
So what's the
absolutely
point?
not.
It'd be like Freddy without any of his. You need the counterpoint of some of the teenagers that you actually like for Freddy to
Right.
be for him to work at all.
Well, let's dive into Freddy. Why is Freddy so pissed off? He's pissed off because a mob of parents tracked him down and basically murdered his ass,
Yeah,
and now
burned him
he's
to death.
burned him to death, and now he's back for revenge from the supernatural world to take revenge on their children, to murder all their children. That's a great motivation.
Yeah, and it's thin, like
Yeah, yeah,
it doesn't hold up on all the sequels that they
no,
did,
yeah,
but same thing with Jason. It's like you weren't watching me. Well, for one thing, he's neurodivergent,
right,
but then like so he probably doesn't have kind of the same kind of moral compass as any of us, the same kind of right and wrong. And then
right,
and then the counselors are off boning one another, and the kid drowns, and now he's this vengeful spirit.
right. Yeah, and what Michael Myers, he's basically just a psychopath straight from his birth, but at the same time, he's out with a mission. That mission is killed, but he's a human. He's a just a really awful human being in the first film, and technically he kind of goes off the rails in two, and then from four and on, it's just batshit crazy. But
He's
he
just a
had a
Terminator from there on out.
right in the first movie. He wasn't specifically after Laurie Strode. He was just going back to his old home where he knew he lived. He used to live, and apparently he eats animals, live animals, raw in the house, and he stalks these young women. But he wasn't on a mission to kill Laurie Strode. He was just on a mission to go back home and kill anyone who got in his way.
Yeah. Well, he got into that devil worship is what
Yeah,
put Michael Myers on the bad path. But no, you're totally right. Like, I mean, it needs to be a little bit thought out. Like the clown guy, he's an interesting to look at.
yeah,
I mean, he's like, okay, he's cool looking and he's got good kills, but if they haven't given him any kind of backstory, and you can't relate to any of the of
yeah.
his victims, and it's kind of a pointless exercise to
Yeah.
me.
That's my huge that's a very good point. That's a huge issue when we were watching the film. But is that going to stop me from seeing Terrifier 3? Hell no. I'm going
No.
to go see Terrifier 3 because there's probably going to be some interesting kills in it. But I'll still be just as frustrated and pissed when I come out of the theater.
I hope that they've taken some of the community grumbling,
Yeah.
to heart, because you're not the first person that I've talked to that has the same complaints about
Well,
Terrifier.
yeah, for sure. Well, enough of that rant. What else? What else did you have on your list?
Oh, we both watched When Evil Lurks
Oh yeah.
by that was recommended to us by our friend Tony Salvaggio. So thank you for that one, Tony. He recommended that one, and it was a killer movie. That one was just
Oh yeah.
really good. It was a Spanish speaking film. It was basically, the I don't want to tell folks too much about it, because I really think you should just watch it without a whole lot of preconception. But basically, it's another kind of possession thing. There's an evil in town that gets into people, and our protagonists are, one of the biggest screw ups that you've ever met. Like, if the black sheep of the family was
Yeah.
responsible for getting rid of this evil entity, and it just goes from there. It gets out and it infects people, and there's some really, like, surprising, jarring, jump out of your seat kills, some real gross out kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, this was another film where they started off with some great world building here,
Yeah.
that they don't go too much in depth with, but they're sprinkling it around where you get a sense of the world, because it's not really the world we live in right now. It's kind of like a mirror image but twisted. So it looks like normal everyday life, but there's this certain presence that's lurking within the world that I don't want. Like I said, I hate to give anything away, so it's kind of hard to talk about it without giving certain things away.
You know we like it if we're hesitant to give out spoilers. If
Yeah.
if it's a piece of shit, we'll tell you how it ended and who the killer was. Yeah, it was really like you said. The world building was great. It was this kind of rural place where everybody just understands that there's this malevolent creature that will get into people, and there's like again, there's certain rules that have to be established for what you can and can't do to
Yeah.
deal with it. And it feels like some the more accomplished horror directors understand that there's got to be some kind of fundamentals, there's got to be some kind of rules for
Yeah.
being able to dispatch the monster. The evil has to be able to be fought on some level.
Yeah, especially when you're coming in with when evil lurks. There's a overwhelming sense of diabolical evil that if it's released upon the world, it will bring doom and damnation. I assume not just to this little town, but it's going to spread like a virus.
Yeah.
And it kind of harkens back to some of those old zombie films when I think of Dawn of the Dead and things like that. It's not like that. It's absolutely not like that.
No.
But there's certain premises within the film that are similar in concept.
Yeah, so put on your reading glasses and watch some subtitles because this is a really good one. I forget the other film that the same director did. Let me check real quick, which was another good one. Terrified. That was
Oh yeah,
yeah, same director, and that was another banger.
yeah. You said you saw that. I that was on my list, but I just haven't seen it yet. I thought there was like some kind of. I thought you had some kind of reservations about it, but I'm not sure if that was that
Well,
one.
like that was another one that Tony recommended to us. Who's if you look back through
Oh,
our
that's right.
channel,
Yeah,
Tony guest hosted one of these episodes with us, and that was a lot of fun. He recommended Terrifier. He loved it. I really enjoyed it. I
Terrified.
didn't Terrified. Sorry,
Yeah,
gosh. Um, uh, I liked it a lot. I didn't love it as much as he did, but I loved when Evil Lurks. I thought that
yeah,
one was incredible.
yeah. That really good banger. And yeah, that's totally recommended. And that's on Shutter.
But
Yes,
yeah, the we I saw Talk to Me on. I just paid for it on
I did too.
Amazon.
Yeah.
When Evil Lurks is on Shutter, and we also watched Totally Killer, which is an Amazon Prime exclusive.
Yeah, that was one I kind of recommended to you. I was on this slasher kick. I know I was talking about slasher. We've been talking about slashers this entire time, but I did read this book. It's called "My Heart Is a Chainsaw," and it was really kind of like it was a good book. I wouldn't say it's the best book, but it's the primary character is a very she's a horror fiend, but she's also primarily a slasher horror fiend. She loves horror
Oh,
movies or slasher horror movies, and she knows everything about the genre. She knows that there's final girls and motivations for killers, and her what's that?
what was
I
that?
heard, I heard like a noise in the background.
I heard love.
Yeah, it's right behind me, isn't it? Uh, so anyways, her every chapter would start with an essay that she was writing to her high school teacher about slashers, and it
Okay.
was very interesting. It was really cool, and I kind of pulled me back into the genre where I was specifically looking for a slasher flick. So I went on Netflix and I started watching the third season of that show Slasher, which is on Netflix.
Okay.
Netflix, Netflix,
Netflix.
Netflix,
Netflix.
Netflix, yeah, which is an okay show. It's the acting's a little corny in it, but there's some good kill scenes. But then I ran across Prime and I was like, oh yeah, Totally Killer's on here. This is a slasher flick with a little twist. So I was like, let's check it out. And
Yeah, I was hesitant for that one because I was familiar with it. It was on my radar. I thought that the trailer looked a little bit too golly gosh darn and
Yeah.
goofy and too self-aware. It won me over pretty quick when I started watching it. I thought that the acting was really good. I loved the protagonist. I thought that it had some good writing. It in my opinion, it drug like crazy in the second act. I was just like, come on, it's just the basic setup is if you took if you took Back to the Future, Clueless and Scream and kind of mushed them into one unholy amalgam of a movie, that was totally killer. And
Yeah.
it works sometimes, and sometimes it kind of bows under the weight of its own
It,
premise.
yeah, there's so it's basically a time travel movie, and with movies like time travel, there's a lot of things you have to kind of explain because otherwise things just don't make sense.
Yeah.
As time travel movies, even Back to the Future, which is great, there are some things that you're like scratching your head on, but
Like, I don't know, but did you get Stephen Hawking's on this one?
and with Totally Killer, they're very meta sometimes with their dialogue. They're self-aware on certain
Yeah.
things, like you said at the beginning there, where they kind of jump right into the time machine thing really quickly, where this girl's uh, a person close to this girl gets killed, and her friend is a scientific genius, and she's like, oh, well, what are you doing for the science fair? She goes, oh, but it's my time machine. Oh, really? Have you got it working yet? Not yet. I'm looking for one more aspect. It's like,
Right. It's like it's almost like it's one step away from breaking the fourth wall and
yeah.
talking directly to us. Like, are you keeping up? You got it? Like, yeah, we get it. We're not dumb, but
There
uh
was
go ahead.
I was just saying that I just standout scenes for me that I thought were really funny is when she goes back in time. She goes back into the 80s. I want to, I can't remember, 85, 87, something like that. And goes back to where her mom was in high school, and she goes to the same high school in 2023. But back then, the school was still named like the Red Braves or something like.
Yeah.
And she goes walking. You see the sign with the racist Native American picture, and she goes, "Yep, there's the racism." Like,
Yeah, yeah, that was funny. And then just like total disregard for kids' safety. Pro bullying. There's a lot of social commentary that I really enjoyed. Some of it was maybe a little ham-fisted.
yeah.
Like she says, "Oh, that's problematic. Your shirt's very problematic." I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh
Somebody
yeah.
has a federal booty inspector shirt on, and she says, your shirt is crazy problematic. And the guy's girlfriend says, I think it's funny. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of, it pretty much encapsulates the 80s.
The
There
80s.
was, it
Yeah.
was a very non-politically correct decade, as I recall.
Yeah, yeah, and I really enjoyed some of the things like where the guy was talking about. Yeah, I drink. I'll drive you guys out there, and she goes, I'm not driving with you drunk, but I drive better drunk. No, you don't. And of course, one of the scenes is him driving these people out, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm totally hammered," and it was funny. There are some things with the time travel I'm still scratching my head on that I'm not going to give away certain plot points, but I was like, how is he still alive if in the future this has been changed? How did that person get back here, kind of thing? So
Yeah, I was. It kind of it kind of followed Avengers Endgame rules more than Back to the Future rules, and I've
right.
I've been throwing out a lot of superhero references this episode.
Even though
But
I
it's
know you're purely disgusted with those films too,
yeah, I
Mr.
know. I
Stacy.
hate them. I totally hate them. I haven't seen most of them. But yeah, it was definitely, if you've got a Prime membership, you could do worse. I had fun watching it. I thought that the beginning was really strong, and that the ending kind of redeemed the middle. The middle, I was trying not to look at my phone. It got a bit tough. Like when they go to the cabin and they're kind of waiting around, it just felt like they were struggling to get from the second to the third act.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they're just kind of throwing in some filler there just to pad out some of the time. But like I said, I did have an enjoy. I did enjoy it. There's some cool kill scenes in it. I think the surprise twist killer thing at the ending was, like I said, okay. I guess you kind of could have saw it coming, but at the same time, I was like, well, not it wouldn't have happened if time. Like I said, I'm not. I don't. Should I spoil it? I don't know if I should spoil it. Maybe I should.
Yeah, no, don't spoil it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I will agree with you that it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. I guess they figure that you're kind of already in, like you're kind of already in for the ride. I think that the biggest sin that the movie makes is that it keeps referencing movies that are better than the movie that you're watching.
You're right.
But don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but it's
Yeah.
not Clueless. It's the original Scream, and I say the original Scream. Every sequel can kiss my butt, but
Yeah.
and Mean Girls, Clueless, like all these
Yeah.
all these movies that it's trying to be did it better. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was an amalgam of all those movies, and but it has some funny stuff in it. If you like meta dialogue, things that kind of makes fun of both the politically correct crowd and makes fun of the not so politically correct
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah, which was it was
Yeah,
fun. It had some really snappy writing, which I
yeah.
appreciated. Talking about time travel, it kind of reminded me of that show Dark. Have you ever watched that German show Dark?
I haven't. I've started it. I thought it was English at first, to be honest with you, and then they started speaking German, and I had to read the subtitles. And at the time, I wasn't interested in reading subtitles, so
No,
I cut it
I
off.
get it. I
So
get it.
I have to be in a mood to really pay attention to that. But I definitely want to see it.
Oh, it'll give you a nosebleed. I really enjoyed it, but you talk about like, just getting caught up in this goofy like, time travel stuff. I know we're getting kind of long on time here, but like we were talking about rules, one thing that bugged me about that I've seen so many other time travel movies do, and it drives me up the wall, is this person A as a young person interacting with person B who's an older person, and the big reveal is I'm you, but I'm older. Like, you wouldn't notice. Like,
Right.
you could gain 80 pounds and be old as hell and you'd still know that it's you, or it'd be like, we're related in some kind of way because we have the
Yeah,
same,
yeah.
obviously look the same. Come on.
Well, especially if it's older you and the younger you came back, you're like, hey, what the fuck?
I know.
This is
I recognize that monkey's looking haircut and that
how'd you get
awkward gait.
I remember that mullet I had back then. Oh Jesus.
That jean jacket and all those buttons.
I just gotta let you know, buddy, that it gets better with age. He'll probably be frightened. Oh my god, this is what I turn into. Well, I've
Ah.
always well, I think so upcoming we do have a watch through coming up. It's for a classic film with something I haven't seen in a while. I know you haven't seen in a while, Clay.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited about this one. I think it's going to be great for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And we'll have a special guest with us to help review that movie. And so, yeah, exciting stuff. You'll be seeing, like, if you're watching this now, you'll be seeing my Alan Wake 2 playthroughs that I've been uploading on the channel. So
Excellent.
please,
Yeah, those are good. And you're still maybe working on a retrospective down the line, maybe?
yes, still work on the retrospect. That's why I've got the new little setup camera here. I was trying to use my lapel mics. I got new lapel mics.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to hook up for this one, but I just couldn't get them to work because I'm an idiot. But I'll get it to work eventually.
It's because computers are stupid and hard.
Me bang on keyboard. Careful. Almost broke it. Okay, yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. This is Bits and Chunks on Cinematic Suffering. I'm Jason.
I'm Clay, and hit that like button, damn it.
Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.